everyone, let's get started by logging into Study Island and see what we all have here for us at Summit Learning Charter. So the login page is app.studyisland.com. You'll need to log in there. And then you should have been given a username and password for your student by a Summit staff member. And let's go ahead and log on in. All right, so once we're in, your homepage might look very different. What you're going to want to do is go through US programs, and depending on the grade level of your student, you pretty much want to start where you are. So if you have a third grade student, you're going to come down and click on third grade Common Core for US programs. If you have a first grade student, you would click on first grade Common Core. Oregon is a Common Core state, and so all of our state standards do follow our line to Common Core, which we're then assessed on in the spring. So I'm going to click on third grade Common Core. And then you can see we have both practice in math and practice in English language arts. If I do want to do some science, we do have science in elementary down here. And there I just have access to a variety of different science strands to practice and work through as well. But for the most part, families generally like Study Island to practice math and language arts. Let's go back to third grade Common Core. And let's take a look at math. Let's see a little bit about what is involved when we click on a specific topic. So here we are. Here's what is all under for math and Study Island. If I scroll down, you can see we start off with a diagnostic pretest, and then we have a lot of different lessons laid out for the full year. At the very bottom is an answer key to help me understand what types of grades I'm getting on assignments and what different icons are showing next to each lesson as well. So the first thing you're going to want to start with your student is come in here for both math and language arts, have them take the diagnostic pretest. This gives you a really rough idea about where they're at. If they're a third grader but they come in and they ace this thing, they get 100% and it's really easy, you might want to have them start working on some fourth grade level stuff and see how they're doing there. If they come in third grade, if they score really low, that's okay. I think you can still work at third grade, but it just gives you an initial idea about where your student is at, and that's just helpful sometimes. So I've already taken this diagnostic pretest. I took 30 questions. I got a 60%, and there's no grade at all attached to it. It's just a starting place. It's just a benchmark to see how well am I doing. Since I did it, I got a blue ribbon. I'm excited about that. As soon as you take the pretest, it opens up all the other lessons. Notice if I click on English Language Arts, I have not done the pretest yet, so I'm not able to access all this other stuff. Once the pretest is taken, then we can come down and we can access any of these other lessons, and we don't necessarily have to do them in order. So I would use Study Island as a supplemental resource for what you're already doing. And it may not align with whatever other math textbook you're using. So maybe you want to start working with numbers and operations in base 10. So as your students working on that, if they're going through their math book, if you're doing those lessons with them, if that's what they're attending and working with their teachers with, then I would suggest having them come in and work on these lessons because they're already doing those and they can come in and build fluency. Study Island does not have direct instruction. There is some lesson support built in, and it does give feedback on questions, but it's not enough for students to come in and learn and figure things out all by themselves. They definitely need their core curriculum. This is just meant to be a supplement to what they're already doing. Let's take a look at an example lesson here. So I'm going to click on multiplication and division properties. So there's three different ways you can approach this. You can do practice mode, which just gives students questions and they answer them and they give feedback. You could print this out. So if you want students to practice writing and working out their math, that's definitely an option. Or you can do it in game mode, which is fun. They get a question. If they answer it right, they get to play a game. And then they get another question. It depends on just how you want to use it. Game mode might be a kind of a fun way if you want to end the day with them just practicing questions, but making it more fun. Practice mode might be a good way if you just want them to quickly come in and do some quick practice questions and then move on to some other stuff. Printing out would be good if you want to print them out and actually spend the time working out math problems by hand. And then you can adjust how many questions you want them to look at. And we're ready to begin. So it's a variety of types of questions. Some of them are click on, some of them are typing in the answers, some of them are drag and drop. So you have a variety of different types of assessment questions. And they're going to be based on the topic they're covering. So notice there's no instructions, just jumping right into saying, well, what's 6 times 3? Well, 6 times 3 is the same as 3 times 6. So it's verifying I got a gold star, I got it right. I can get an explanation if I want to on the commutative property, which is a nice feature about Study Island is you always have this explanation built in on all the questions. So you can not only maybe the guessed got it right, but the students can still get that explanation and just double check that they knew what they were doing. And we can go on to the next question. So 10 times 5 plus 2 is going to be 70. And again, I'm getting some questions right. I'm on question 3. I'm getting timed. I can see my score. So it does keep track of your progress and how well students are doing. Here's a drag the tiles. So here's one where I have to drag and drop. Some questions may be easy for students. Some may need a little bit of a guidance to know what they're supposed to do. I'm supposed to drag this down here and match them up with what I think they should match up with. Oh, I missed all 3 of them. So it's letting me know that I missed it. And I'm going to get an explanation. So it tells me about how to approach this the right way. And now I can try again. But it does miss that question. I've got 2 out of 3 right. So that's a little bit about what it is. It's just practice questions based around a variety of topics, all aligned to state standards. So I can go ahead and end the study session. I'm going to call it good. Okay, so now let's interpret a little bit of what we've done here. We did the diagnostic pretest. It's done. I can say I got a 60%. This first lesson, I got a blue ribbon because I did mastery in it. I did 10 questions. I got 100% on them. The passing score was needing to do 10 questions and get 70% right. But since I got 100% right, I got an E for exceeds. Again, remember that answer key is down here. If I get an E, that means I exceeds. Notice this is the language of state assessments. Meets, exceeds, does not meet, etc. The second lesson, I got a 70% on out of 10 questions, which met. That's good. So I got another blue ribbon. Here's what's nice about Study Island. I did the lesson real world problems and I really struggled. I only got 10% right. I got 1 question out of 10. So I was very low. And notice what it did here. It added a building block. So it's responding to the fact that I didn't pass that and may need some extra support. So it's giving me an extra lesson built in. That's what this icon here is for. And it's going to help me do this lesson, is going to help me get the skills so that I can go back and retry the lesson that I originally struggled with. So it's giving me a lower level lesson. It's helping identify those areas where I'm weak at and maybe dropping down a little bit to get the skills I need. So that way your student's not doing the same lesson that's hard over and over again, but it's going to adapt to meet them where they are. That's a really handy way or a really nice feature about Study Island. So once I do pass this one and get mastery at 70%, then I can go back in and do this one. Now notice there's not a lot of assignments. If you're wanting to spread this out over the year, you're probably not going to have your student do a half hour every single day of Study Island. They could very easily get through some of this. So you might have them do 1 a week, work on modeling multiplication and division, come in and practice that 10 minutes every day, but just keep doing it. And then the next week you come in and do number sentences. So make sure you're kind of thinking about what you're learning, you're kind of spreading out what you're doing with your student, and you might only do Study Island 1 or 2 a week to supplement what you're doing in your core curriculum. All right, there are some awards. So for students, notice you get a blue ribbon. If you want to, you can click on this. and you get a Blue Ribbon Mastery Award. So you could print this out if you have a student who maybe really struggled, and they finally passed that thing, that specific lesson. You could print this out and say, good job, you got your blue ribbon. One other thing to keep in mind is notice I'm just in here doing the full third grade Common Core. We do have the capabilities of taking your student's MAP assessment and how they did, which really targets what they know, what they don't know, their specific skills and instructional level. We can import that and make a custom learning path in Study Island for your student. If you request that, let us know. And what you'll see show up here is instead of Oregon programs and US programs, you'll see another place for MAP learning path. And if they click on that, it'll give them a specific targeted path of lessons based on what they know. So even if your student's third grade, maybe they're at the fifth grade level for math. So it'll give them different problems based on where they should be. So it's a nice way to make sure you're not giving your student stuff that's too easy or stuff that's too hard. We have a nice little learning path already built into where they're at instructionally. There also are a lot of reports for parents and students in here as well. So if I click on My Reports, I can get an individual subject report. I can track how they're doing, what they're doing on. An individual summary report, suggested topics, things that as my students working through may target which specific skills need improvement or work on. If I go ahead and click on this, I'm going to click on the third grade Common Core. Let's click on Math. Let's view the report. And you can see on real world problems, I did 10 questions, but only got one right. So it's definitely saying, hey, this is a high priority. You need to work on this lesson. Here's a medium priority one. They started multiplication and division. They did 2 out of 3. So they're doing okay, but they definitely need more work on it. And it tells you which standards have been met and which ones they're exceeded. So it's a really quick way, maybe halfway through the year, come in and pull this report and just get a quick idea about what is your student amazingly good at and what specific things do you need to focus on. It helps you as a parent say, okay, maybe we need to practice some subtraction problems a little bit more. Those are a high priority. You tend to be missing those a lot. And it gives you some guidance as the learning coach, as the parent working with your student. So anyways, lots of different reports, lots of great tools for you to kind of gauge through and see how your student's doing. If you have any questions on reports or how to interpret reports, please contact a Summit staff member. We'd love to work with you to help interpret these, figure out which reports may be the most useful, or even how to interpret what you're reading in the reports. Okay, hopefully that's a good introduction to Study Island for you and your student. Again, you're going to want to come in, use either your MAP link, your MAP customized learning path that's created, or you're going to start at whatever grade level in Common Core that your student is in. And you'll have access to both math and English language arts practice, a variety of topics. You, again, probably want to do about one of these every single week and kind of spread it around, or at least base it off what you're studying in your core curriculum. And keeping in mind that Study Island is a great supplemental tool, but it is not a full math or full language arts curriculum in and of itself. It's designed to really complement and help build practice and fluency for your student. All right. Thanks for taking the time to watch this and have a fun time working in Study Island.